Have I written any stories about cross-pantheon connections? Well, Dagdy Eve agus Fáilte. Hi, hello, and welcome. John O'Sullivan from the Irish Pagan School. And the answer, not hard to say, yes, I have written some stories about those explorations myself. It came up in community query recently. Can people express or explore their belief in spiritualities between different pantheons? Even if they don't have like genealogy, ancestry, or location from that. And like the answer really in short, without going over the entire video, if you want to know more, it's on the YouTube. Um, is yeah, it's you're free to explore your own processes and your own spiritual growth in your own way. Caveats and addendums, though, do apply because the way to do that honorably and ethically is to approach the spirituality not as a pick and mix relationship of I make offerings to this and offerings to that and expect abundance and blessings. It's more about building what we call at the school right relationship, this core cuivness, oscuilge in Irish. Um, and by having that rightness in that connection and that rightness in that relationship, it means that you have learned the lore of those gods, those deities, those entities, guides, guardians, um, and you're exploring the culture, the lived culture from which those deities come. So again, not to go back over all of it, I have done that exploration myself as well. It is something that I find absolutely fascinating, and as a storyteller, I explore my ways through story. That's how I relay these processes. And so this particular story is one I wrote quite a while ago, and I thought I'd read it out to share because people have asked me to read some of my stories and see what you think about it. Um, this story is called Two Chairs. The space was filled with silence. There are many kinds of silence. The type that comes once a person passes out of a space of extreme noise. The terrified silence of prey when they sense the presence of a predator. The near maddening silence of sensory deprivation. The silence of the grave, all encompassing and definitive. The kind of silence that exists comfortably between old friends who do not need to fill the space. This silence was none of those, and in an odd way, all of them. The room was bright but comfortably Spartan, the cold brightness of fluorescent light, not the warm brightness of a fire. What items there were filled a very specific purpose and a very specific space, from the sheathed blades hanging on the walls to the stacks of cards upon the side table, to the dustpan and brush stacked neatly in the corner. Two big armchairs sat one beside the other, their occupants gazing straight ahead, each looking at that which only they could see. Between them stood a sturdy, handmade oak table on which rested two goblets of red wine, beside the open bottle. Neither glass had yet been touched, as both occupants knew that it was best to let the red warm to the environment and breathe, as the term would have it. Do you think it's going to make a difference? The voice which entered the silence, almost as if it were truly part of it, was deep and resonant, thickly accented from the region surrounding the Nile in the African continent, soft and soothing to the ear. There was no harsh or hardness to the sound of it. As smoothly as it arrived, it passed, and the silence slipped back close around them again. Though the question had been asked, neither party was in a rush for the answer. Time was something they were both very keenly aware of, and at this point, time was in abundance for them. The reply, when it came, slipped like a shadowed whisper into the silence, though easily heard for the closeness of the two chairs. It's time to change or die. Both parties never turned to look, each keeping watch over that which only they could perceive. Two hands extended to retrieve the goblets, One long, slim-fingered and pale-skinned, the other broad, thick-fingered and ebony-skinned. All of a sudden the silence was shattered as surely as the door was. Both sent to splinters in the space as a huge shape barreled in and reeled about. Wife! Beloved! You fine vixen, you! I'm home! The bellow was such that the silence fled from where it was from. The bellow was such that the silence fled from it like a startled hare. The massive figure staggered around, reeling unsteadily, moving its broad head about, bleary-eyed searchingly. Ah, there you are, drinking no less. Sure, I'm glad I'm not the only one to be in my cups tonight. The bellowed laughter spooked the silence from where it had crept close to the door, sending it bounding away again. Whose company are you in, beloved? The figure reeled over to stand before the two chairs. Their smile became a mite broader to see the occupant of the second seat. The big man brought one of his thick fingers to his lips and gave an overly exaggerated wink, implying he was about to engage in some unsubtle mischief. Little Annie, is that you? My goodness, you've grown. Once the line was delivered, the big man again spooked the silence by descending into a fit of tittering, which for a man of his size was impressive indeed. No need to get up, lover mine. You see to your guest, and I will away to our bed to await your pleasure. With a reeling spin that was part bow, part overbalanced stumble, the figure trundled away across the room. That is, of course, until it reached the detritus which had once been a door. Ah, what's this? What happened to the door? Don't worry, my love. I'll make a new one and have it hung for you in the morning. The figure looked back over his shoulder and suggestively grasped his crotch. Speaking of hung, I hope you won't be too long away. The tittering began again as the figure strode through another door into the back room. Tee hee, long. Hee hee. The silence crept back into the room, slowly, nervously, checking everywhere for the big, scary, noisy thing. The Morrigan smiled, a small smile to herself, and with a sigh gave a slight shake of her head. Was that a movie quote? I could never really keep up with his pop culture references. Anubis gave a deep-throated chuckle. Star Wars, one of the prequels. I know because it was almost the death of the franchise. The timid silence gave a start as both began to laugh heartily. I considered its options, given its favor for the two in the chairs. It eventually gave up and left as the Dagda began to snore from the back room bedroom. So that is a story I wrote quite a while ago. It is exploring the idea of Anubis and the Morrigan, really, as our center characters to it. Um, the idea of each of them and their roles and their purposes, how they fulfill and serve their community. At the time when I wrote this, the world was in a much difficult and darker place, and it seems it has gotten more difficult and dark. So the line "it's time to change or to die" does seem to still resonate in oddly. But with many of the stories that I write, as a Dagda bird, I the Dagda ends up in them, whether I choose him to do or not at the beginning of it. And in this instance, yeah, it's an exploration of his relationship with the Morrigan as well, because they are referred to in the lore as a wedded couple. And so yeah, I have explored that aspect of their relationship as well, less about their roles as deities and more about them, their characters, and their natures as they go and exist in their lives. So, hopefully that's been interesting for you. I have been many years writing and retelling the old lore as well. That's what I do. I retell the old stories and the old mythology, um, exploring it from new perspective, which is what every storyteller would really should be doing. But sometimes those other stories come in and those places where I step to explore a narrative, to explore a concept, or just to see where my spirituality takes me as I consider the deities that I honor and work with in my daily life. So, with that, thank you very much for joining me. I do wish you all of the very, very best. If you'd like to know more about the Irish Pagan School, go to irishpaganschool.com. Or if you'd like something free, go to irishpagan.school/free. There's a year's worth of free resources there, from audio to videos to actual full classes to blogs to resources to book recommendations, a whole lot of content that will just get you on the right step going forward as you explore your spirituality. And if you enjoyed my storytelling, please let me know. I do get anxious about it from time to time. And if you'd like more stories, let me know. Shoot me a comment and let me know what you thought. And until next time, look after yourself. Take care. Agus slán. Goodbye.